Red Hat is an enterprise software development organization. We work with the upstream community to develop enterprise-ready, rock-steady open source technology. And then we take that to the industry to allow customers to utilize the benefits of not just Red Hat technology, but open source technology. There is always a demand from every organization now to do more with less. More importantly, it's got more to do with how do they do more with less and then drive innovation on top, because that's one of the things that a lot of CEOs are saying to their CIOs. Help me drive innovation at a company level. I don't need you to be a cost center anymore, actually. I need you to be an innovation engine. I care about the individuals within my team, and I care about everybody, within the team. And I believe that's one of the best ways to get the best out of people, is to make them feel wanted. And there's no secret in that. That's just part of human nature.
This is CIONET TV. My name is Hendrik Deckers. I'm here today with Colin Fisher, who is the Global Senior Director of the Cloud Partner Ecosystem at Red Hat. A very warm welcome, Colin.
Hendrik, thank you.
Colin, you have a master in geochemistry from the University of Leicester.
Yep.
You worked for VMware, Veeam, BT, and you joined in 2014 Red Hat.
Indeed.
So Colin, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you really, and how did you arrive in this position?
Absolutely. Thank you, Hendrik, and a pleasure to be here as well. Colin Fisher, I'm 55 years old. I was born in, I'm English. I was born in the UK. Born in the southwest in a place called Bristol. Spent about 20 years of my life there, grew up there. And then went off to university and did my first degree in geology and a master's degree in geochemistry. Passionate about the planet and the ecosystem, which is the reason why I went into that, that topic, that field. But finished my master's degree and then decided I was going to travel the world off the back of it. That was a great opportunity for traveling around the world. I spent 6 weeks in the Gobi Desert in a tent, doing borehole logging. I was based on oil platforms and oil rigs just off the coast of Rwanda when there was a civil war. And, so I've been in some very cool locations. I've seen a lot of cool locations. And that really was the catalyst for me to want to travel the world and see lots of the world. I then moved on to a job that was more focused around selling, because someone said to me, actually, I think you'd be quite a good salesperson. I didn't have a background in sales. And then from there, along the way, I went from selling chemicals, which was kind of the background I came from, to getting involved in IT. And that was 28 years ago. I've been involved in IT ever since. And as you've said, I've worked for many companies. And I joined Red Hat about just coming up to 10 years now. I joined originally to set up and drive the cloud ecosystem business in Red Hat 10 years ago. Very much a different landscape back then to it is now. And here we are now 10 years later.
So we're here in the London office of Red Hat. Red Hat, most people will know the name. But again, tell us, what is it that Red Hat does and what does it do really, really well?
Yeah, great question. So Red Hat is an enterprise software development organization. We work with the upstream community, which is the open source community, where the power of millions, if you like, is the motto. So we work with the upstream community to develop enterprise-ready, rock-steady open source technology. And then we take that to the industry to allow customers to utilize the benefits of not just Red Hat technology, but open source technology.
And so the main products lines, and we'll come to that, is Linux is of course the big thing.
Red Hat Enterprise Linux.
Enterprise Linux, and then the OpenShift and Ansible, and maybe we'll come back to that in a
Absolutely.
moment.
Absolutely.
Let's first talk business, Colin. So I want to talk with you about the business challenges. I want to talk with you about the complexity that we're living in and that IT has to manage. I want to talk with you about cloud strategies, and I want to talk about hybrid clouds, multi-cloud and so on. So that's the four
Absolutely.
topics I wanted to focus on. So we live in complex times, we live in special times, and our organizations, your clients are faced with many, many challenges. What do you see as the main business challenges that your clients are faced with today?
Yeah, that's a great question. Whenever and I spend a fair bit of time talking to CIOs or line of management businesses, they are very much focused on how do they do more with less, in particular these days. There is always a demand from every organization now to do more with less. More importantly, it's got more to do with how do they do more with less and then drive innovation on top, because that's one of the things that a lot of CEOs are saying to their CIOs. Help me drive innovation at a company level. I don't need you to be a cost center anymore, actually. I need you to be an innovation engine. So there's almost a part where every organization now is almost a software organization. They're there to create new capabilities and innovate in new ways. And I think that's a very tall order for a lot of customers and a lot of organizations. Not everybody has the people, the bandwidth and the ability to be able to achieve that. So we at Red Hat, and certainly myself in the job I do, it's very much about how do we help our customers to be able to achieve that, but leveraging the ecosystem as well, the partner ecosystem. How does our partner ecosystem help our customers achieve those?
And so innovation is key.
Absolutely.
Businesses are undergoing lots of changes at the same time. They have to do this within a given budget.
Absolutely.
And so that means that digital and IT is key for that innovation, and Red Hat contributes to that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that in lots of ways. We do that because our portfolio development strategy, if you like, is about how do we make our technology rock steady and standardized, so that customers can take that technology and utilize it across any footprint. And so when we start talking about digital transformation, most people these days will talk about cloud. So if you look at the Red Hat portfolio, it's very much about giving customers a choice, flexibility of where they want to use or run the Red Hat technologies based on their business requirements. And that's, so we are very customer focused, but partner always focused as well.
Absolutely. And so what we see with the need to innovate is agility is important.
Absolutely.
Innovation, agility is important, but at the same time, our businesses are getting more and more complex. And IT systems, IT departments, IT infrastructure, IT applications are getting more and more complex, I think, in general. And we're building up legacy and so on and so on. So the role of CIOs are getting are not easy. And I think one thing that they're all focusing on is try to create more simplicity, get away from complexity. So what do you see within your clients as the main drivers for this ever increasing, it seems, complexity?
Yeah, absolutely. Complexity, my personal view is complexity starts with understanding, number one, absolutely what you're trying to achieve. And then number two, I think there's a technical understanding. So what is the technology that you need to use to address that business requirement? But there's also a commercial one as well. And as we move into digital transformation, in particular in the cloud, then that commercial model also becomes very important as well moving forward. So we at Red Hat, as I said, we've got a complete portfolio of enterprise grade products that allow our customers to develop, deploy, secure, and manage across a multi-cloud environment or a multi-cloud footprint. Now that footprint could be on-premise, okay? It could be bare metal, physical, virtual, or it can be hybrid, as we as an organization have an open hybrid cloud strategy. And then that's allowing customers to also use that in the cloud, whether or not that be single tenant, multi-tenant, hourly, annual, and multi-cloud. So again, it's giving customers flexibility and choice.
I think cloud is no longer optional. It's key in every transformation, digital business transformation that's going on today. But do you think that what you observe is cloud adding to complexity, or is cloud reducing complexity in the organizations that you work with?
Yeah, my view on this is absolutely, Hendrik, is a great question because it depends who you speak to within the organization.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, that is, I guess, one of the conundrums around cloud. I would say a majority of CIOs believe that it's decreasing complexity, but actually, if you then speak to other people that are working for the CIO, potentially that adds more complexity because now you've got these multiple footprints that you need to manage. And also, more importantly, if you speak to the lines of business and some of the people that are carrying the budgets, then the cloud, up until recently, the cloud, the complexity around purchasing has been, you know, very difficult. Actually, what is interesting now, because of cloud marketplaces and committed spend contracts and everything else that's happening in the market, the purchasing route, if you like, or the purchasing process is actually now becoming a little bit more easier in the cloud. So the complexities around how organizations secure their budgets and procure the software is becoming easy. I think as technology progresses, then of course, increased technology adds more complexity. So AI and ML is a prime example, right? So, you know, so again, horses for courses, depends very much on who you speak to.
Yeah, it depends. And it also, I think, depends a lot on the specific cloud strategy that the company has. So what I wanted to do with you, Colin, is run over a couple of different typical cloud strategies that companies can take. And so you have, and let's put them in a couple of categories. One strategy could be just to lift and shift everything, put everything in the cloud, use the applications as such. And there's pros and cons for that.
Absolutely.
Then there's the hybrid cloud approach, where you say, well, step by step, in an architected way, we will move things where they are best in the cloud and make sure that we have modernized applications in there. And then there's more the project-based ad hoc, where we put whatever piece of cloud is there when we do almost like a best of breed strategy. Let's run over these three and let's see what your vision and Red Hat's vision is on these and maybe other cloud strategies. So lift and shift. Some companies that say, well, we have 8 data centers, we're going to get rid of all of them. We put everything at AWS or at another hyperscaler, Microsoft, Google. Where do you see the big advantages, the disadvantage? When does that strategy you think is a good strategy?
The one thing I've come to learn, actually, Hendrik, over the years, is that it becomes very difficult, actually, to put organizations in a particular bucket because every organization is very different. And it very much depends on the objectives of that organization, or more importantly, the people that are making the plans, the CIO typically. So again, it's very much about what they're trying to achieve. You know, we do see customers that are absolutely thinking about the lift and shift. It happens, of course it does. But based on my experience, what we're actually finding is that doesn't typically address all of the issues or concerns that most organizations have, particularly as we now start to look at data sovereignty, and in particular now data sovereignty is becoming, you know, a big factor, particularly outside of North America, if you like. So the data sovereignty piece is coming back into the conversation very much, and therefore picking everything up and maybe putting it in a data center that isn't typically sovereignized, if you like, if that's a word, is becoming more of an issue, particularly in government organizations, public sector, et cetera, et cetera. So of course there are benefits to it, but typically what we're finding is that customers are typically going for the middle, right, the hybrid piece, and that's because there are benefits to both. So you know, if you start to look at you know, legacy applications or business critical applications, most organizations are saying, I'm quite happy for those to still sit in my data center these days because of all the right reasons. It used to be years back that the organizations would then look at the test in dev, you know, file in print, and you know, kind of the low hanging fruit in IT, and move that to the cloud. Of course, now because of the capabilities of a lot of the cloud systems and services, there's a lot more business critical applications going into the cloud. And we are seeing more of that because the capabilities of the cloud provider community and everything else that's attached to it and the applications and workloads themselves is progressing.
So what could we say that for most or for many organizations, a hybrid cloud, a step-by-step approach where you put these applications that really belong in the cloud and put modern applications and step-by-step clean up your legacy. And so the advantage is that you optimize the use of the cloud, of course. The disadvantage is that you have two systems at the same time. So, so how do you deal with that?
Well, at Red Hat, we have a complete portfolio that allows you to execute that hybrid cloud model. That's how our products have been designed with that mindset. So you want to run them on premise, you can run them on prem. You want to run them in the cloud, you can run them in the cloud. But if you want to run them in a hybrid environment and federate between the two, that's the way the technologies have been designed. And that's the flexibility and choice we give our customers.
So, Colin, how does that really work? I mean, when a developer develops something and then runs something, how does that work that then that application can be on-prem or in the cloud?
Yeah, so we have an abstraction capability within all of our technology. In fact, that's the beauty of, in particular, OpenShift, for example. If you look at OpenShift, which is an application development platform, it gives our customers the ability to run that on-premise or run it in the cloud or federate between the two. So there's flexibility, there's choice, and actually, what you spin up on-prem is also identical to what you potentially spin up on cloud as well, and vice versa. So it's giving our customers the flexibility and the choice that they require.
Okay, super. So hybrid cloud, very, very important cloud strategy adopted by many customers. It will allow you to move to the cloud step by step. It will probably take a little bit longer than just lift and shift, but then you do it in the right way.
Absolutely.
Right way. Another cloud strategy could be really to do it project by project. And for this application, we take a Microsoft piece of software and we do a SaaS here and a IaaS there and a PaaS there, and we use a little bit best of breed. What do you see as the pros and the cons of a strategy like that?
Yeah, the pros. Well, let me cover off the cons. I think one of the things that organizations need to be conscious of these days is some kind of vendor lock-in. I guess if you start putting all of your eggs in one basket, then you potentially start to limit your choice and your flexibility. So that's something that we work very hard at Red Hat to ensure that we give our customers the ability to run the workloads wherever they want to run them, right? So to your point, there are pros and cons to doing both of those models. That's very much why we as an organization believe that the right model actually is the hybrid cloud model, because it gives you the best of all worlds.
Okay. So as Red Hat, it's very important that you have a very close relationship with the hyperscalers, with the Microsoft, the Googles, and so on and so on.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that. How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And that predominantly is the business that I'm responsible for at Red Hat. It's interesting. We as an organization have an open hybrid cloud strategy. Now, without the cloud vendors, there is no such thing as hybrid. So they are critical to our strategy moving forward. But more importantly, they're also critical to our customers' cloud strategies moving forward, because it's fair to say that most organizations these days are utilizing some kind of cloud provider. What is interesting actually, and you mentioned all of the hyperscalers, and I can also mention, we can mention IBM Cloud and Oracle Cloud and Alibaba Cloud and a lot of others. We have relationships with all of those globally. But we also have relationships with literally hundreds of regional cloud providers or sovereign cloud providers, if you like, around the world. And although there's a lot of focus on the hyperscalers, there is also, I think more importantly moving forward, there is going to become more of a reliance on the regional partners because of sovereignty laws that are starting to happen around the world.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, Hendrik, yeah, I spend most of my time working with the big hyperscalers, the big three. Our relationships are very important to us, the relationships that we have. We are a top 6 vendor for both Microsoft and AWS, and we have those types of strategic relationships with them. They're great teams to work with, actually, because they have a collaboration mindset. And we also do a lot with Google, obviously. So, very critical to us as an organization for obvious reasons, but also very critical to our customer base as well.
You also talk to a lot of CIOs and top cloud strategists at your clients. So where do you see their concerns today? I mean, cloud comes with a lot of positive things, but also comes with some risks and with some compliance challenges maybe sometimes, and with some search for the right skills. Where do you see the concerns of CIOs today?
Yeah, the overall, the number one concern I would say for most CIOs is how do they hook it all together, right? How do they run this massive environments or big environments that they've got? And how do they deliver that service back to the organization that the organization is asking for? And then there's this whole piece we discussed previously around how does a CIO help with the innovation side of the business? Right? The new go-to-market piece. So those are big questions that come up. I would say the other one that continuously comes up as well is lack of resources and skill sets, and also vendor lock-in, flexibility and choice. So the former one is interesting because we are seeing a real lack of skill sets within the marketplace, and that is becoming a big issue for a lot of CIOs in the marketplace. And we as a company, we realized that about 3 or 4 years ago, which is why we started moving towards managed services.
Okay.
In as much as that, if an organization doesn't have the skill sets and the people, and there isn't that skill set within the ecosystem as well to be able to deliver those services, then they'll look for an alternative. And in most cases, it's going to someone who will manage that service for them. Hence the reason why we have an OpenShift service with Microsoft and OpenShift service with AWS. And also we've got our own OpenShift dedicated service as well, for example, because customers were asking for that capability.
Okay. One of the concerns that CIOs also express in discussions that we have them is with the cost of cloud.
Yes.
Because, I mean, one way is to get in, but then the cost could go up and you're in the hands of the hyperscalers or cloud providers and so on. So do you see that as a real important concern?
Yeah, absolutely. The purchasing and the way in which organizations are buying cloud now, it has never been more important than it is today. In fact, there's 2 considerations, as we said before: getting the right technology and getting the right pricing, for obvious reasons. So we as a vendor, Red Hat, have worked extremely hard to make sure that our portfolio of solutions is available around the world, if you like, in cloud providers all over the planet. We have 1,450 cloud provider partners today offering Red Hat technologies as a service offering for our customers, our joint customers. But more importantly, we've worked very hard recently to make sure that our portfolios are in the hyperscalers marketplaces, because of course a lot more organizations now are committed spends and enterprise agreements, etc., with the hyperscalers. So by us making sure that our portfolio is available in many different places with many different partners, it gives our customers flexibility and choice from who they purchase the service from, but more importantly, the pricing that they pay for the technology as well.
Just for me to understand the complete portfolio of Red Hat. So I understand what Enterprise Linux is. You've explained OpenShift. The third product line is Ansible automation.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, please.
Well, and that's a great one, because when we spoke about complexity before, one of the areas that Red Hat helps our customer base very much is around the automation of some of these IT environments. So, and that's where Ansible comes in. Ansible is a world-class enterprise automation platform, as is all of the Red Hat technologies. They're all platforms. And that now can be utilized on-prem, but it's also available now as a service from many of our cloud providers around the world. And that again is helping our customers with the complexity piece. It's allowing them to drive efficiencies across their organizations. In fact, Ansible is actually used by a lot of our cloud providers themselves to drive day one and day two operations and cut costs.
Okay. Colin, how would you say Red Hat is organized today to support its customers in its cloud journey?
Yeah, a great question, Hendrik. We have our portfolio development team. We have obviously our development team who are responsible for making sure that the products are enterprise ready. They're been developed for the way our customers need them. Then we have a services organization, which is exactly there, is to help customers on with the trip, with their trip, their journey to the cloud, if you like, the trip that they're on. And then we have also our field sales teams, but more importantly, the business I work within is the ecosystem business, so our partners. And our partner community are very important to us at Red Hat. And they're also very important to our customers because of the skill sets and the knowledge that they have. And because you can't do everything on your own as an organization, that's where the ecosystem comes in. So we leverage our ecosystem partners very much, or our ecosystem and our partners very much, as almost an extension of Red Hat. In fact, they are exactly that. It's a partnership. And we work very hard at ensuring that our partners are a key point of our go-to-market.
And you're the global director of that
Correct.
ecosystem, managing that ecosystem?
For the cloud provider business.
For the cloud
Correct.
provider. So,
yes.
So what does that mean? Where do you spend most of your time then?
Yeah, absolutely. I spend quite a bit, there's a few places I spend most of my time these days. What does it mean? It means I'm responsible for making sure that we've got the right cloud ecosystem in place, providing the right services to our customer base so our customers have flexibility, choice, and they don't get that vendor lock-in scenario as we spoke about earlier. Where do I spend my time? Well, actually, I spend quite a bit of my time these days talking to CIOs or CEOs of big cloud providers, but also actually customers who want to consume the cloud, the Red Hat technology as a cloud service. So that's very much explaining to them how the technology works, how they consume it, the benefits of different cloud strategies as we've discussed today. But then more importantly, making sure that they're working with the right cloud partner, for example, and the cloud partner they're working with has the right capabilities and skill sets to execute against what the customer wants. But actually what is interesting, I'm seeing more and more of our cloud provider or our customers become cloud providers. So that's another thing that's becoming quite interesting in the marketplace today. Customers are actually now starting to become partners.
Okay. Could you give an example?
Yeah, I can indeed. So I spent a day or so with one of the world's largest electronic manufacturing companies last week. And the CEO and the CIO are responsible for internal IT, right? It's part of their service. But what they've realized is that because of the skill sets, the capabilities, and the knowledge that they've built up as their own IT organization, now they're looking at how do they take those skill sets and that knowledge, turn that into
a service.
A service, correct. Because they are finding that all of their competitors and all of their partners they're working with today have exactly the same requirements. And therefore, they want to be able to offer those services to those customers.
Okay,
right?
Quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a massive transformation for an organization of that size. So that's one of the types of conversations I get involved in.
You run a team that's responsible for the cloud ecosystem.
Yes.
I can imagine that's a little bit around the globe.
All over the world.
All over the world. So what is your management style? How do you make sure that your team is successful?
Yeah. So. Well, I think that's two questions actually, because I would consider my management style as very open, very collaborative. I care very much about the team, but I also care very much about the success of the team as an individual. So it's almost the constituent parts, the individuals within the team and the team itself. So I like to understand the people within the team as people, as individuals, and have close relationships with them. And I use, I would say I'm quite empathetic, and I am a listener. how do I generate a successful team, or what does a successful team look like? Well, first thing first, I worked out years ago that if there's no trust between you and your team, or even the individuals within the team, and the team itself doesn't have trust, you're not really heading in the right direction. So it's about trust, creating trust. And sometimes that's about showing vulnerability and explaining to people that, you know, everybody's vulnerable. It is human, and it doesn't matter if you are vulnerable. Then it is about commitment. It's about having a plan and making sure that everybody is bought into that plan. And then it's then around the execution piece. But more importantly, that's where you hold each other accountable at every level. And I say to my team as well, I am accountable back to you guys as a team as well, back to you as a team. And then you have to keep monitoring that, right? You have to keep staying on top of that and addressing the issues and concerns. And if you need to evolve or change direction, well, then you all sit back down and have a little bit of a conversation around the directions that you need to change. So.
You shared with me that you, in your younger years, you're very active in sports.
Yes.
And you also manage teams in sports.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that and what you learned from these years and that you're applying today.
I've always been a keen sportsman. In fact, that was probably one of my downfalls when I was younger. I spent more time doing sport than I did, actually doing the learning and the education. So I've always been a sports mad fanatic. More importantly, I've always enjoyed team sports. And over the years, I've learned a lot about team ethics and the value of a team. I'll give you a prime example. Everybody in a team has a role to play. They have a position. They have a role to play. They have a responsibility. And because there is a responsibility as a team, you can hold people accountable for that task or that role.
Yeah.
And I think that directly correlates very well back to individuals within a team. But that's where it's important that the individuals within the team need to understand what their roles and responsibilities are. So that's where the clarity is needed. So that there are lots of ways where, team sport, I actually like the idea of the team as a single, as an entity, with everybody pushing and pulling in the same direction with the same objectives. And then that of course is one of the things you need for any team to be successful.
And what was your favorite sport?
Well, I'm a big rugby fan.
Big rugby? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I played a lot of rugby, I played a lot of football. I still play cricket today. But I do anything. I cycle today, I run today, I do triathlons, I do high rocks, if anybody knows what high rocks is. No? Crazy sport.
We'll have a talk about that later.
Very, very difficult, yeah.
Colin, I've interviewed already a number of people in Red Hat, spoke to quite a number of people in Red Hat. There's something special about the culture in Red Hat, right? And so tell me a little bit about that. What's special about the Red Hat culture, and how does that translate in the kind of leadership that can flourish in this organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the one thing I can say actually is I found my management style and my personality fits very well inside Red Hat because of the culture of Red Hat. In fact, I probably shouldn't say this, but I will. The culture is almost a religion, actually, at Red Hat. Almost a religion at Red Hat, because it is that secret sauce. It's very difficult to explain. It is the piece that makes Red Hat very different to any organization I've ever worked for. Everything is flat. It's a very flat management style. Yes, of course, there are leaders. Of course, there are. And you need people to make decisions. But everybody has an opinion, and they are very welcome to share that opinion. And we work on the model that meritocracy wins. It's not the people at the top that have to come up with the best ideas. It's anybody within the organization can come up with the best idea. Yep. So it provides an ability for people inside the organization to feel like they've made a difference and make a difference on a day-by-day basis. And I'm a firm believer in, I will say to my team, every day, you don't need to ask me to go and make a difference. You can just go and make a difference at Red Hat. And that's what is so different about the organization.
Now, if I would travel around the world and speak to people in your team and ask what they think about you, or if they are together at the coffee machine and they talk about you, what do you think people around you say about you and about your leadership style?
Yeah, I would hope they would say a futuristic planner, if you like. So I like to stay kind of one step ahead. I like to keep an eye on, what's happening in the marketplaces and make sure we're in the right position at the right time. But I would also hope that they would say that, I have empathy. I am very open. I am tenacious, but I like to think that I'm tenacious with a smile. And, I care. I care about the individuals within my team, and I care about everybody, within the team. So, and I believe that's one of the best ways to get the best out of people, is to make them feel wanted. And there's no secret in that. That's just part of human nature, right? So.
Let's talk a little bit more. Let's deep dive a little bit more in your personality, Colin, because that's my favorite part of these discussions, of course.
Okay.
You shared with us that your MBTI profile, you have scored yourself as a protagonist, an ENFJ. So that's a person who is extroverted, intuitive feeling, and judging personality traits. And these are typically warm, forthright types that love helping others.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they tend to have strong ideas and values, and they back their perspective with creative energy to achieve their goals. So what I'm going to say, give you, Colin, is 5 typical strengths of a protagonist.
Yeah.
And you tell me how you relate to that, and then we're going to talk about your development areas or weaknesses.
Okay.
So typical strengths for ENFJs is that they are receptive, they are reliable, they're passionate, altruistic, and charismatic. Does that fit the package here?
Absolutely. I think it's pretty spot on, to be honest. I mean, the characteristic piece is an interesting one. I wouldn't necessarily see myself as a characteristic person. I am who I am. The other one for me that's important is authentic, actually. Authenticity is very important to me. But I think, you've got pretty close with those.
It's a self-assessment, so it should be good, right? Potential weaknesses, development areas.
Yeah.
So people with your profile you have to be careful not to be unrealistic.
Yep.
Overly idealistic, condescending sometimes.
Yeah, possibly.
Sometimes too intense or overly empathetic. What were your most important development areas? How have you developed them? How have you worked on them? Can you give an example, maybe?
Yeah, I think there's another one for me personally, and that is that because I come from a scientific background, I very much have almost an analytical mindset around sometimes how I do things.
That's good.
Of course, it is good. It's advantageous. But sometimes you can spend too long doing the analytics that the opportunity passes you by.
Yeah.
So I've worked very hard over the years to be a little bit more courageous. Yes, I listen to my gut instinct, but actually, it's about taking more of a courageous step into, okay, fine, let's do it, and let's do it now.
Okay. Colin, let's dive a little bit deeper. And we talked about your personality. Let's talk about your core values that you live by. And also you shared with us you have a son of 29 that you have passed on to your son.
Yeah. First one for me is honesty. I think it's critical in life in general, life, personal life, and also business. Along with that comes transparency. The other one I think is very important is authenticity. Always be yourself. And then the final one, and in particular, this is for, I guess, the younger generation, it's not necessary. It's find something that makes you happy. Do something that makes you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we all learn from the people around us.
Yeah.
So who were your most important mentors in your life, and who are the people that you maybe look up to and that you learn from? And can you give maybe 1 or 2 examples?
Yeah, I can. with most people, I think their parents have a big influence into them as a person and the values that they have. So a big influence for me has always been my father. Well, both parents, but in particular my father, who always used to say to me, life is too short. He used to say two things, never miss an opportunity, and life is too short. And we have roughly 4,000 weeks in our lifetime, to go and live our lives. So I think both of those resonate very much. The other people that have been mentors to me, and I won't mention their names, they're both Red Hatters. They're no longer at Red Hatters, but both of them, one of them would say to me, allow yourself to be the leader you aspire to be, which is something I've never forgotten about. And the second one would taught me that there is power in partnerships. So those are things that have always stuck with me over the years.
Okay. Do you have a favorite mantra, a saying that helps you if you have to take, for instance, a tough decision, or that helps you in your daily life?
Yeah, I do. I'm a firm believer in. I kind of mentioned it earlier. I have a bit of a mantra which says, "Allow yourself to be the leader you aspire to be," which keeps me honest. I do have a tendency every now and again to doubt myself as a leader, and it's always good to just keep reminding yourself that it's under my control. And the way in which I think and the positive mindset is the right model moving forward.
Okay.
But I think that the one that resonates with me is the old adage about a failure is just one step towards success. Because one of the areas in which I know that I have a potential weakness is on the courageous side of things, is taking a little bit of a gamble. So for me, the fear of failure, everybody has a fear of failure, I believe, or most people do, or a sense of loss. But it's very much about keeping that under control and taking the risk when it's appropriate to take the risk.
If you reflect on your young life, professionally and personal, what would you say is one of the best things that has ever happened in your life?
Oh, apart from the obvious, I met my wife, the family, my son. I'm very proud of the master's degree that I accomplished, particularly when I look at the amount of time that I wasted back in my school days and having to go back to university to get that. The other one actually, which set me very much on kind of a career path, was joining VMware in the early days, back in 2004, when nobody had even heard of virtualization. It literally didn't exist. That was a great journey. It really was a great journey. It taught me a lot of things. Taught me how to sink or swim. Very much. That was the mindset at the organization at the time. And I still believe that, having spent that time at VMware and then growing up with virtualization and cloud computing since then, because 2004 was reasonably early days, it's put me on a good career path moving forward. Okay.
The flip side is that, what would you say is one of the worst things in your life that happened to you, if you care to share that?
Yeah, I lost a friend during COVID, and a close friend, which set me back. It hit me hard, and it made me realise that we're all fallible, but there are more important things in life than business, right? So it made me level set. It made me think about my life a little bit more. And honestly, it was a shock. I feel that I've learned from that. I feel that I'm a little bit more prepared now in maybe those curveballs that you get thrown in life, as a net result of going through the healing process associated with that. So.
Okay. Well, you talked already a little bit about a couple of fears. What is it in life that you love most?
Sport. No, sport and food. Sport and family and food. I'm not a big drinker, actually. There is another one, Hendrik. It's chocolate. I am a self-confessed chocolate.
Belgian chocolate, I
Belgian
can imagine,
chocolate.
of
Any
course.
chocolate. I don't care. But no, I enjoy my sport. It's a way for me to release after a day's business. I find it a great way to level set, de-stress, and put me in a great position for the next day, to go on and do the best you possibly can. So that's the way in which I use exercise.
Okay. So Colin, what is that you're most proud of?
Well, I guess success was I completed a High Rocks event, as I said previously, which was a very tough sporting event. So you run 8 kilometers and then you do 8 different disciplines. And it's the equivalent of running a triathlon or completing a triathlon. So from that perspective, I'm very proud about that. That's on the personal side. And honestly, I feel very privileged about the position that I'm in at Red Hat. It's a global position. If you look at the strategy involved, from Red Hat, we have a hybrid cloud strategy, and therefore the cloud element of that strategy is very important to us as an organization. And I feel very privileged to be in the position I'm in today, and the fact that the organization has entrusted me that part of the business. So.
Okay. So Colin, if at the end of the week you come back home, what is it that must have happened that you say this was really a great week?
I would say it's some kind of success. Now, success means different things to different people, but for me, it's about have I left my role, or have I moved my business on in a better place than it was at the beginning of the week? So by the end of that week, is my business in a better place than it was when I started at the beginning of the week? And if I get to the end of the week and I believe it is in a better place, then for me, that's a good result.
Okay, super. Colin, we're coming to the last question of our brilliant interview here today. And so that is, these interviews are being watched by young professionals that have the ambition also to make a great career into a top technology company like Red Hat. What is the advice that you would give to these ambitious professionals if they want to follow in your footsteps?
I think never be afraid. First thing first, understand what it is that you want to do, okay, and have a plan. Secondly, surround yourself with people that make a difference and allow you to execute against that plan or that objective. So find yourselves mentors and people that you respect because they've got values that you respect and you want to learn from them. And then thirdly, don't be afraid to challenge, and don't be afraid to be courageous and take some calculated risks.
Okay. And on that note, thank you so much, Colin. It was a pleasure.
Hendrik, thank you.
And as a token of our appreciation, this is our second edition of the CIONET cookbook that we've developed together with Red Hat.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for your time.